was the biggest takeaway from the Mercer game the other night?
That, we have a extremely talented group, fairly young as we know, but obviously there were a lot of positives with Nate playing really, really well. But just, there's times for us to continue to keep coming together, in my opinion. We got to obviously take more and better care of the basketball for the entirety of the game. But I think for game one, with the new group, I think they did come out and play pretty well and finish the game pretty well.
How important is this first 3 weeks with the young guys, with 9 new guys on this roster before you go to Vegas?
I would say it's critical. Credit to Shap and GP, just from a scheduling perspective. I think it's huge just having so many new bodies, so many new faces, and just having a chance to learn. Coach had an opportunity to be able to play Troy and Amari and give Dwayne Brown continued minutes because he's going to be so good for us long term. So, I think these next 3 weeks are going to be critical for us for sure.
Coach, I know it's your first year here, but college basketball in general, do you think these first few weeks are different and more important than they have in the past just because of all the player movement? Everybody's rosters are so new this time of year.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, Coach is, mastermind behind this. He's a genius when it comes to just trying to make sure we're putting the best players out there at the time, but also making sure that we're giving these young guys opportunities to continue to keep growing. So that's in my opinion, the beauty of this schedule. Is that we're not forced to have to play Felix Akpara, who's already has the experience, 25 to 30 minutes. We can play him 15, 20 minutes as we did, and still come out with a pretty good win.
With how many guys you'll have that can play in the front court, do y'all go into a game wanting to pair certain guys together, see certain minutes with certain pairings, or is it just kind of flow of the game type thing?
I would say just, right now we have the depth to continue to keep trying to overwhelm guys over the course of the game. That's what we want to do. Obviously, when you talk about, Houston and you talk about Florida, just their depth that they had inside last year, I know that's been a huge emphasis of Coach, just trying to make sure that we continue to keep sending guys in waves, so, at times we can play, double bigs, at times we can go smaller with Cade. We can give guys different looks to for our advantage, but then we can also match other teams' personnel as well if need be. So, I think, moving forward, that's going to be so huge for us. It's just our front court. We just need them to, perform a little bit better and guard a little bit better down the stretch, because I know, the big kid at Mercer, he kind of had some success late. So,
what growth did you see from Ethan from the Duke exhibition to the season opener?
He's just figuring it out, just more and more. Obviously, he got here a lot later than everyone else. He's always somebody that's super inquisitive. He has tons and tons of questions. He wants to know exactly what, our program wants to do, what Coach wants to do. But then at the same time, he's always had some leadership skills. And in our huddles, he's as vocal as anybody. So as he continues to learn what we do, he'll have more of a voice. But obviously in the Duke scrimmage, he shot it, really, really well. But he's going to be great for us moving forward. We just need him to continue to keep learning, and his veteran leadership is going to be critical for us late in the season.
You
mentioned Dwayne before. Why
Yep.
do you think he's been able to have this much success? He comes off the bench and he immediately contributes as a freshman. Why do you think he's been able to do that?
He has an incredibly high IQ for a freshman, in my opinion. I know Coach GP said that when he recruited him. What their staff at Hoover said about him is that, you could tell him something once and he could catch it pretty quick, learn it pretty quick, and he can move on. But then at the same time, he's an everyday guy, in my opinion. So he's one of our guys Coach talked about. He's, ran as many miles as anybody in our program because he hasn't missed very many days. When you talk about an availability standpoint. So when you talk about the summer and the fall, he's been available the entire time. And that's been an opportunity for him to learn against some really good, upperclassmen in JP, and obviously learn from Cade and learn from Felix. But he doesn't back down ever. And then, one of his strongest traits that's going to be great for us is that he's just a consistent person. He's an everyday guy. And I think that's a huge reason why he can figure out a way to, score and be crafty and score down in the post without jumping very high. Obviously, he doesn't have a great vertical, but he has great hands, great feel, and he's extremely intelligent.
What stands out about Northern Kentucky?
You know, they're gonna obviously Darren Horn is a really good coach. He's coached in this league before when he was at South Carolina. They're gonna be scrappy. They're gonna play really, really hard. They're a different, you know, style of team. You know, they're gonna try to run their matchup zone, which has given people fits in the past. Obviously, it's nothing that coach has never seen before. But they also have just as much as probably any, you know, mid-major program around the country. They have a ton of turnover too, so it's a lot of new guys. But we do know his team is going to be one of the hardest playing teams to come in and play. So we're ready for their scrappiness. We thought Mercer was really scrappy, and then we also thought Duke was extremely physical. So it's another good test for us as we get ready for the plays there.
Coach, what are just a couple of points of emphasis for Jacobe moving into the second game after, you know, the Duke and Mercer games?
Yeah, him. I would just say him continuing to learn our system, and then also learning, you know, just our guys. You know, he kind of came out with such a, you know, great start when you talk about our inter-squad scrimmage, and when you talk about our, you know, our closed-door scrimmage against, you know, Ohio State. But just trying to, like, you know, pick his spots. I think this is one of the first times in his career that he's actually looked at as like the guy that's at the top of the scouting report potentially. So just, you know, just learning to like play the game the right way. He's had a really level head about everything. He's excited to continue to keep being one of our leaders. You know, I'm excited to see how he moves forward. Like, I thought in the second half he played really well, although he might not have shot it as well. He had 5 assists in the second half. And I thought he got us going, you know, when there was a, you know, stretch where they tried to make a run late. You know, he found Troy in transition. He found, it might have been Jalen Carey for a dunk, you know, so he's just learning this group. So I'm excited to see, you know, how he continues to develop.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,